Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve with Real Progressives. We have a special broadcast today in the name of Martin Luther King Jr. I'm going to be bringing on my guest, Matt Orfalea. Matt has just finished doing a direct action in Washington, D.C. yesterday regarding basic income and celebrating the life and work of Martin Luther King. Matt, what's going on, man? Tell us about this direct action.
Okay, well, I noticed that the MLK Memorial in Washington, D.C., most of the quotes on the wall at the memorial are, about peace, love, peace, love, peace, love. And hey, I'm all about peace, love. MLK was absolutely. But at the end of MLK's life, last couple of years, he was dedicating himself to the cause of economic justice. And that's not really, that history isn't really clear. It's kind of almost whitewashed at the memorial. So I wanted to bring some quotes. I thought it'd be a cool idea to bring some quotes in, just on banners, and put them in the memorial for people to see. Just basically kind of like adding a little mobile exhibit about MLK on economic justice at the MLK Memorial. That was the action, and that's what we did.
So I got the opportunity to watch your live stream, which was really cool. I mean, you're just kind of going up the randoms as they were coming by, and you're just sort of spreading the gospel of economic fairness. Can you talk to us about your experience during the day? Because I, for one, was fascinated. We did post your live stream, by the way.
I noticed. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us.
Okay. Well, I also forgot to mention, I also did include a little video and audio installation, so you could actually hear MLK speaking on economic injustice. So what was the experience like? Well, I'm not going to say I was preaching the gospel for guaranteed income, because it was more like I was having discussions. I wasn't like preaching to people too much. I was definitely starting discussions, and most people, they had certainly had no idea. They didn't know if that MLK talked about a guaranteed income at all. And much less, and they hadn't even heard of a guaranteed income themselves. So I was just introducing people to the idea through the banner, and informing them about MLK's history and battle for economic justice, like I mentioned. And we had some good conversations. Everybody had like every concern you would imagine when first hearing about the guaranteed income. Like, where's the money coming from? Oh, but shouldn't everybody have to work for their money? It would so. And do you have any? What do you remember anything from the live stream that you thought was worth remembering? Or?
Well, there was a couple that came up, and you were talking to the gentleman, and he pointed over to his wife, and she came up, and you could tell she was kind of, it was weird. It was like people were kind of not sure what to do with themselves. And I think it's kind of interesting. People, just so we're on the same page, I think this is very important. We're not trying to make people comfortable necessarily when we talk about these things. We're trying to bring them into a new understanding. And whenever you're changing a paradigm, people get nervous, they get uncomfortable in general, and it violates what they consider to be their normative world, the world around them. So you presenting new information, it was, to me, each one of the people, there were several people, in fact, that I thought you had some really good exchanges with. You were extremely patient and so forth. A quality, I must say, I lack, but it was
I don't know
just
about that.
well, I do. I can assure you I do. I know I know self be true. I couldn't do that. I need an army of people to be able to buffer the sledgehammer that I bring half the time. But what I found fascinating, though, was that people were open to hearing about it, though. And they weren't just running away from you like you're an Amway salesman. They were literally engaging. And to me, that was what I found to be most fascinating. Now, you and I both have acknowledged we have some differences on the implementation of a UBI versus a UBI and a JG, et cetera.
Yeah, I think the only difference is I prioritize the UBI over the
right. So, but the thing is, all I'm trying to say is I want people more than anything to get out of this is, number one, you took what you believe, you put action to it, you said, hey, if it's not me, who else? And you went ahead and did something. And for me, that is maybe the most important. I mean, I'm my entire mission is economic justice. So for me, this rings like very, very loudly in my ears, saying, "Hey, maybe I need to up my game a little bit." I really appreciate you pushing people out of their comfort zone. But it sounds like you were pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit with the police. Let's talk to me about the circumstances that came up with the police involvement, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So I'll start. You mentioned that I was able to start these interactions with people really comfortably. Wasn't like a salesman, and I think the reason for that is because I wasn't just getting random people on the street, talking with random people on the street about economic justice or guaranteed income. I was talking to people at the MLK Memorial, and so even though many of them were not familiar with his history, fighting for economic justice as much as his history fighting for, civil rights, for blacks and other minorities. But it's, anyway, so that's why I think I was able to engage with them so well. Now, because, like you'd think, what could you have a more appropriate setting, appropriate place to start a conversation about MLK and the guaranteed income than the MLK Memorial on MLK weekend, on MLK's official birthday? Anyway, that's what you would think. But the police eventually showed up, and they had issues with it. And they said it was illegal for me to be there with a quote, with a banner, with nothing else on it other than his own words. Steve, that's all that was on the banner. His own words. And an attribution, of course. MLK on this date at this location. And that is illegal in the United States of America. At the MLK Memorial. That to me was very strange. And I do not want to send, any hate towards these cops personally, but it's just a silly rule. You'd think there'd be an exception for that. I mean, I know people warned me like, oh, there could be issues about, permits and all. Ask me about permits later, because that's another ridiculous story. But I thought for sure, come on, would they really arrest me for bringing in quotes of MLK on MLK Day at MLK Memorial? What? I mean, we're celebrating MLK Day. I mean, it's just absurd to me. Now, oddly enough, there was a wreath there on stands. That was okay. But his own words, not okay. I mean, if I was MLK, I would imagine that MLK would be like, oh, I appreciate the wreath. But man, what I really want, I was saying all this stuff because I want you to remember what I said. That's what I want. The wreath is beautiful, but please, respect the words, please. I put a lot of thought into these words. I was actually watching a documentary recently where people were saying how, he had a whole team of people actually, taking his draft of the speeches, rewriting it. So it was like a, large, went through a large, big process, making sure, these words were just perfect. Anyway, any other?
Well,
I feel like I'm
so
rambling.
no, let's talk about this for a minute. What was the citation, if you will, that made it so that they could block you? I mean, to me, I know we don't like offensive speech, and we find ways to in our minds justify banning, hate speech we don't like and whatnot. This was far from hate speech. We're talking about something that was celebrating a man on his day, to the point that you made. What was the code, if you will? What would we be able to research to find out what the hell basis they had for blocking you, or for even coming at you? What?
Okay. Yeah. Well, the code it's like, I don't know, a dozen digits long, so I don't remember the exact code. You get it's in the video. They mention it a couple times in the video. But what is the code? Well, basically, what it is in the code is they don't allow any demonstrations or demonstrators in the entire memorial. Now, here's this crazy.
We lost your voice there, sir. Can't hear you. Hold on, folks. Let's see if we can get a test in there real quick. I think we lost audio. So I will flip over to me momentarily while we're trying to get Matt's voice back. Technical difficulties. See if you can use the other mic there, Matt. I don't know if you can switch it around. All right. Well, we've lost audio, but I'm going to close this out then for us here so we can just put a bow on this. Bottom line is that in America, freedom of speech is kind of subjective. You know, we had something very positive going on, something that was celebrating the man's life. It was also trying to bring, recognition and sunlight to the man's work, et cetera, and it was shut down. And, I think it's worth noting that sometimes there we go. I guess
there's just so many levels of BS. Okay, all right.
Well, it was sort of have your voice back. All right. Well, you know what, folks? We're just going to go ahead and close off the broadcast. Bottom line, Matt, thank you so much for your efforts out there. If you can hear me, thank you. And with that, folks, I want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Join us tonight. I'll have Pavlina Cherneva on. She's with the Levy Institute for Full Employment, and we will be talking about the job guarantee and the basic income guarantee at 8 p.m. So with that, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Thank you so much, Matt Orfalea, for joining us. You got it, buddy. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone.